We actually don't need willpower. We don't even need to set goals to not eat a food. It's like we're providing what we're really looking for. And that craving kind of just like gently softens.
Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Houghton, and today we're joined by Gina Worful, a dietitian who discovered that health isn't created through control, but through self-trust. She founded the Mastering Mindfulness Institute, where she teaches a mindfulness-based approach to healing our relationship with food and the body so that change becomes natural, not forced. In today's conversation, we discuss the physiological reasons why willpower isn't the solution to staying on plan and how stepping out of judgment and into curiosity can lead to truly mindful choices and even improved health all around. Gina, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Julie.
I'm so excited for this conversation. I was just telling you that the work you're doing is beyond needed. Literally everybody I work with needs to focus on the mindset piece. And this is probably too much information. Sometimes when I see RD, I'm like, um,
I understand.
I know you get it, and I don't mean
I
it as
do.
like with love to everybody and their training and their perspective. But I know that you've always been interested in nutrition and that's kind of been a lifelong love for you. But
Mhm.
how did you shift to a degree that you decided you needed to create the Mastering Mindfulness Institute?
Yeah, things have changed for me so much because when I became a dietitian, I opened up a private practice, working with people on their health. And what I saw was really disheartening. And I think what a lot of people go through, which is I had so many people who were excited and they're like, I am motivated, I'm changing my life. And I would give them these nutrition plans and then they would do it for a little while. But then sometimes the struggles would hit, whether their lives got stressful or they struggled to implement the habits. And they would come back to me like it was confession. And they're like, I tried for a while and then this happened and I struggled and I tried to be their cheerleader, but they really had a hard time. And I started to wonder, why do all of my clients have such a hard time implementing this? And am I just like a scam, like the diet industry? And I called other dietitians and I was like, what are you guys doing to help your clients be successful? Are you having any life changing transformations? And they said, Gina, your job is to provide the information. It's their job to follow through. And I was like, I hear that. I can't force someone to change, but there's something else that's going on here that we're not addressing. And it got me very curious. And at the same time, while my clients were struggling, I was definitely that health nut, but I started to struggle too. And even though I had all this information about nutrition, I started doing the things I was taught, like tracking my food and trying to really focus on eating healthy as good as I possibly could, setting goals. And I started sabotaging my goals. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm the health professional.
Oh, and that question right there, that's why we need you.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with you, but
Yeah.
it's surround this. It's I see it literally in everybody I work with in some degree or another. And there's so much shame, or we feel like we're weak, or there's something wrong with us. And
Yes.
there's not. We're human. We're actually designed this way.
Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest questions that a lot of people aren't asking is why does the path to being healthier feel like such a struggle? And I think we put this blanket blanket thing on it that we just need more willpower or we need more discipline. And I think it's such a big misunderstanding about what's happening in our bodies and our nervous system when we start to make these changes. And so if anybody's feeling that feeling of guilt of why do I motivate myself and then I sabotage it when I know how to eat healthy, I know what I should be doing. It is so much more than just knowing how to eat healthy. And I'm right there with you because I was struggling with it probably more than anybody and also had a lot of information. So what I realized, and what's actually funny about that too, is I really thought maybe there was something around health that I was missing. And so I went back to school and I got another degree in nutrition. And then I started learning even about like functional medicine. And I was fascinated with things with functional medicine. And I think all of that is so, so, so important. But it didn't explain why I kept sabotaging
Right.
myself too. So I realized there was something that I was missing.
So brilliant, and I don't know you well, but I feel like I can comfortably probably presume that because of your education, because of what your career, right, that judgment is even worse, right? Because
Oh,
there's this little piece of like, "Oh my gosh, I know what to do." I'm telling people what to do, and I'm not even 100%.
yep.
And so I think, and even that did that functional I know it's still the missing piece even in kind of functional medicine training. Um, but nervous system is so important to, especially for our audience, the autoimmune audience. I mean, nervous system dysregulation is just across the board. It may show up differently in different people, but it's such a big component of autoimmune drivers.
Hmm.
Um, that but yet that piece that's missing that you're helping us with that, this I call, my especially my adult, very adult ladies, with the yo-yo dieting and
Yeah.
they have these patterns. And so I want to get into, if you don't
Hmm.
mind, like a little bit about like some of this is just physiological response.
Yes.
It's not weakness, it's not lack of, you know, determination, it's not anything that we should be judging in a negative way, it's actually how we're made.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to break down exactly what's happening because if I would have known this a long time ago, if someone would have explained this to me when I went to school to be a dietitian, number one, I would have had so much more compassion for myself, but I would
Right.
have actually approached things with so much more confidence and working with my body. When you
Yes.
understand what is happening in your body, you can start to be in partnership with it instead of feel like you're battling your body, battling your cravings, battling willpower. And so just this one reframe can help you move into that place of partnership. And so like the first step that I needed to take for to step forward was actually something that you brought up, which was moving out of a place of judgment. That judgment was so intense and so heavy for me. And I know a lot of us have it. And it's not our fault, but the health industry tells us that your cravings are bad, self sabotage is bad. So hold on with everything that you've got and don't self
White knuckle.
sabotage. White knuckle. So we start to think, oh no, this situation is bad. So I should probably avoid it. But what we avoid is what actually keeps it holds a power over us and it keeps coming back. So the first thing to move forward is to move out of a place of judgment into a place of curiosity with those moments of why we self-sabotage because our bodies are always doing everything to support us. So we think of self-sabotage as a bad thing, but I think of it as actually self-protection.
Sure.
Our when we go to self-sabotage, our bodies are protecting us. So I'm going to break down a little bit of the science, what's happening. I would imagine that your audience likes or your listeners really enjoy a little bit of science
I
here.
think so, and I'm such a geek that they're gonna
Cool.
just have to deal.
Okay. So let's say it's a day when you're like feeling really happy and you feel really good and the sun is out and maybe a good song comes on. Usually it's that day that you're like, oh, I'm going to eat salad.
Time
I'm
for
never going to eat. gluten never again. I'm never going to eat sugar, right? Like you really
Yep.
think that this is like your new step forward and you're changing your life forever. And you really deeply feel that, like in your heart and in your bones.
Mhm.
And when you're in that state, when you feel good, when your nervous system is regulated, in that state, your body feels safe.
Yes.
And that's the prefrontal cortex in your brain that works. And that is responsible for having good willpower, for rational decision making. It's very logical. So when you're feeling good and your body feels safe, your prefrontal cortex helps you with logical thinking. So you might think, I'm going to eat the salad today because it's good for me. And the decision is that simple, it's logical, it's very easy. So that's the day that you're like, I'm never looking back. But then if you ever have a moment where suddenly it's like you have these thoughts coming in, well, one cookie wouldn't hurt, or you start
That
hearing those
voice.
thoughts, that voice, and then it could be like a flip of a switch where all of a sudden you watch yourself going towards those things that is not really aligned with your goals or what you want to eat, and it's almost feels like something is controlling you, and you're just like you could almost go into like a tunnel vision or a hypnosis. It almost has like a hypnosis type feeling, or like you just watch yourself, self-sabotage when you know that it's not really aligned with what you really want in your desires. Usually that happens when your nervous system gets the information of we're not safe or there's a stress present. And that stress could be anything. It just could be that it could be that you didn't eat enough food and you really were trying to cut back your calories and your body received that as we're not eating enough food, there's a stress. It could be an emotional stress, it could be your financial stress, your relationship stress, something that sends a sign to your nervous system of like a lack of safety. And I know we might
Yes.
think, well, I am safe, I'm totally
Doesn't
safe.
matter.
But it doesn't matter. That stress is a signal in our bodies. And so when that stress starts to accumulate, it shifts the brain's activity. And so that prefrontal cortex that gave you really good willpower kind of deactivates, for a better lack of a better word. It's not the primary center that's working. And what does come online is your amygdala. Your amygdala is your brain's survival area, and it drives you to do everything for survival, and that's your body's number one priority. If you're under a stress, your body's priority isn't to make the logical, healthy choice like the salad, it's to protect you. And things like glucose and sugar and carbs and things that taste good, taste sweet, those give the body fuel for energy, like if you had to run from a wild animal. So when you're under that stress, you'll notice everything, your whole body's chemistry shifts. So you'll start noticing your attention will go from like in your body to up here, and you'll start thinking about food. You'll start thinking about the flavors. And I almost think of it as like a tiger that's like tunnel vision on like, I need this one food. Those are our primal instincts.
Nice.
It's the way our body is designed for protection. And what's so interesting is there's some research that shows that our taste bud receptors will change their shape in this state so that food actually tastes better and you want more of it. And now you'll start feeling more hungry. And what else is interesting is when you do start eating, the area of your brain that gets the information that you ate so that you feel full, it stops working as well. So you can keep eating and it feels like, man, why can't I stop? Why don't I feel full from
Good
this?
gracious. Yeah.
I'm ravenous. And so we see that as willpower, but it's really our body and our nervous system going into self protection. And if we all knew that, we would work with our bodies in such a different way, which is why it's hard when we take away the food. That feeling inside of our body and our nervous system is still there.
And it's real. Like
It's
this is
real.
not, it is real. It's a physiological response. Like it is not, you know, um, and even just thinking of, I talk so much on the podcast about getting back to how we are physiologically designed, right? How we lived in caveman times. And it makes perfect sense. Not, and we've talked about, parasympathetic and sympathetic a lot. And we know you don't need to digest when you need to run from the tiger, but you
Yeah.
do need glucose, you do need calories. Um, but even just thinking about back then, forgetting the stress response piece, food wasn't always readily available. So we probably did eat literally our fill when we had food because we didn't know when we would have food next,
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense. Like all of those things make
Yeah.
sense, right? Because way back then, even the taste bud changes because you needed the food. So you didn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, we can be like, oh, this doesn't taste good. I'm not going to eat it. No, when there was back then, we ate it. So it makes perfect sense if we can. I love that you say step into curiosity, because and that's that moment, like noticing and really paying attention to, oh my gosh, a minute ago I was singing my song and gonna eat my salad, and now, I just, something is telling me I am not gonna survive if I don't eat that fill in the blank of whatever you're sabotaging
Yep.
food choices. That's the perfect time to pause and get, I love that, get curious because
Yeah.
curiosity doesn't carry judgment.
Mm.
And so if you can focus on that,
And your
that's
body
huge.
will tell you when you're going into that shift. I didn't pay attention early enough, but now that I understood what was happening in my body, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna start paying attention to what my body is telling me." So, let's say your nervous system slightly feels a little bit of a shift. Your body might start telling you by having a little bit of a contraction. You might feel your neck
Mhm.
tense up. You might kind of start breathing shallow, maybe even holding your breath a little bit. And you'll notice that you kind of have this feeling that you just want to like snack and you're kind of like gently on the prowl. You're like, I just ate, but I kind of want something sweet. And you're kind of like a little bit on the prowl and not really realizing that your nervous system's a little bit revved up
Mhm.
to all the way if that stress accumulates more and more and more, it could feel like the stress is so high that the warning system is so big that that amygdala completely takes over, and that's where you feel like you are completely powerless, and you end up just eating whatever is there, and then once you end up eating the food, your body gets a signal of safety again, and then that's when your rational thinking comes back, and you're like, "Wait, what just happened? You just had goals. Why would I do that?" And now the logical thinking comes back online. So your body will actually start telling you from anywhere from really subtle. You can kind of feel that stress response. I'm so sensitive to it now that I can
Sure.
feel, oh, if my neck is starting to contract, that's kind of a protective state. Or you know, you might see a lot of people with like bloating or constipation. And like you said, how the body is kind of going into more fight or flight versus that rest and digest state.
Mm.
It's amazing how our bodies will give us these little clues of like, I need
Yeah.
something. And the more that we can listen to like the whispers that the body is sending us, the more we can say, oh, I feel it going into this stress response. How can I care for it? How can I provide it this safety and nurturing? But when I didn't understand and I didn't listen to those whispers, it turned into a yell.
Yeah. It's
He completely took over.
the same with, all of our physical symptoms and that, people will say like, "Oh, all of a sudden I got, an autoimmune condition." It's like,
Yes.
"No." And that's a survival, those are adaptations. And I think that almost every woman I know that's grown, that we've been just conditioned to ignore, be polite, like you said, try to outthink it, outsmart it, judge it, all the things. I remember when my daughter was a teenager, I was like, "Listen, when those hairs on the back of your neck stand up,
Mm,
that do not be polite. I don't care where you are, what's going on, get out, leave." But
yeah.
like nobody told me that. Like I was
Right.
told be polite, right?
Hmm.
So it's the same with the listening. And I love that you shared because people think, "Oh, Gina, you must be perfect." So for even those of us that weren't just still in touch and listening and receiving those messages, we can. reconnect.
Mhm.
All healing happens reconnected with our bodies.
Mhm.
And so we can learn to receive those messages and get those screams to, like you said, to catch it at the whisper phase
Yeah.
is key.
Yeah, and if it feels hard, I know a lot of people are in a place of like, "Oh, I feel so disconnected from my body. I don't even know what my body's telling me. I feel so numb to my body." And I completely understand. I was right there with you. For me, it
Me
has
too.
been a journey of moving my attention into my body and feel what it's feeling. And I know like this is a journey that we all have to be on our own time because not only does our body hold the truth of what we're needing when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling lonely, when we're feeling overwhelmed, or the sensations of being hungry or actually being full. This is where really all of life is our true sensations. And when we live with our attention up in our minds all the time, that's when it gets distorted and confusing. Like,
Yeah.
wait, am I hungry? Am
Right.
I full?
Which voice do I believe?
Why am I craving stuff all the time? And because if we live with our attention up here, we can't feel those sensations in the body. So, the practice of moving our attention into our body is how we start to pick up the sensations and those signals again. But we have to be so patient and really on our own time because sometimes when we bring our attention down into our bodies, we start to feel more emotions that we weren't feeling before.
Absolutely.
Right? It opens up our emotions, but that's also where we start to build trust with our emotions and
Yes.
what are they telling us? And we have a deeper intimacy with our feelings, with our emotions, with ourselves. So I noticed it for myself when I was living with my attention up here in my mind. I felt so numb and so disconnected to my body and like, what am I missing? But that's also why I was like, why don't I have control over my food? Why do I always feel hungry? Why do I think about food all the time?
Yeah.
And I was just in that survival state. And bringing my attention down here is where I learned to trust myself
Yeah.
and
And I
feel
love
what my body's needing.
that you say it is a process because
Yeah.
at least especially for I think for all of us,
Yeah.
we all have wounds, we all have, you know, emotional scrapes and scratches, if not, scars and slashes or and I know that by the time people show up on my doorstep, uh, that disconnect has been going on for a long time and it always comes from a place of protection. And so, yeah, this isn't a listen to what Gina and Julie are talking about and then do a 180 change to it is a process. And
Mhm.
sometimes you need to go slowly and gently because feeling those feelings, there's a reason you stuffed them to begin with. But the work is worth it because the reward is on the other side of that, and I would say just like you said, trust yourself. Hard to
Yeah.
do in the beginning, learn but just keep practicing.
Yeah, and one of my students, she was really nervous about doing this kind of exploration, and I recently had a call with her. I interviewed her, and she said, "This is amazing. This is so beautiful because before I felt so confused and felt so lost, but now like I know myself. I feel at home in my body and it's enlightening." And so what's really beautiful is I love looking at this exploration with our relationship with food, which is how do my feelings influence my food choices and how do my food choices influence how I feel? This relationship that we have with our food, we get to learn about ourselves because we have history with food. And what's so interesting is a lot of people think that, oh, I'm eating this food choice because of something that I'm feeling today. But really, we have a relationship with food that gets established from the day that we're born. When we're born and we start eating, that's our first when we start breastfeeding and you're crying and you're frantic and you start breastfeeding, that's the first signal, one of the first relationships we ever develop that, oh, food makes me
Soothe.
safe. I'm okay, I'm safe. And so all throughout our lives, it's like we get to build these associations that food is our partner, it's our ally. It helps us, if you didn't have parents that knew how to express love, but they sat you in front of the TV and they gave you food and you're like, "Oh, this is what love feels like." That's
Mhm.
not a bad thing. It's beautiful that food is like your ally to give you love, to give you comfort if you were alone a lot. Food can feel like our friend, our comfort throughout our lives, and so we still keep those associations. So what's amazing about that is if I'm willing to have the courage to look inward and say, "How is this food making me feel right now?" Okay, it's providing me a sense of love, it's providing me a sense of comfort. One, I can have a lot of appreciation for what it's doing for me, and then my next step for growth might not be, how do I get rid of the food? It might be, how do I cultivate a deeper feeling of love inside of my body? What would provide me that feeling of comfort? And I start practicing that in here. And to me, that's the power of like mindfulness. When we can
Yes.
sit with ourselves and start feeling, how do I feel this sense of love that I'm looking for that maybe I didn't receive from my parents, or the comfort and security that I was really always needing, and start to feel that from the inside. And then we actually don't need willpower. We don't even need to set goals to not eat a food. It's like we're providing what we're really looking for. And that craving kind of just like gently softens. It's like, okay, I'm not needed anymore. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Absolutely. And I love that you highlighted these patterns start at birth. I mean, it is the why it is a relationship, right? And everybody, always giggle because we all think our relationship with our foods, our whatever, is special. And I say, like, well, people say, well, you don't understand, I'm Italian. And I'm like, you don't understand, I'm Jewish. Like,
Yeah.
everybody has their familial relationship,
Oh,
their
yeah.
cultural relationship, their social there's all these different levels of connections with food. But I joke because, like, when we get down to, like, the childhood patterns and that feeling of love, I've yet to have one client be like, "Oh, this giant salad reminds me of my mother." Like, nobody's ever said that.
Yeah. It's enlightening when we see that relationship.
Yeah.
I had one of my students, she shared this on my podcast, so I feel okay with sharing this 'cause she shared this publicly, but, she could not stop eating ketchup, and she was like, "I put ketchup on everything," and she said, "Man, this ketchup is probably kind of a thing. I should probably not eat so much of this," but it was really hard for her. And when she got a little bit curious, she was like, "Oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I would eat fries and ketchup with my dad, and my dad passed away, and I feel like this ketchup is my connection to him."
Yeah.
And just that awareness and that realization alone allowed her to be like, "Wow, this struggle I've been having was actually how I felt connected to my dad, and I wonder if I can feel that connection with him while also honoring this next chapter for my body."
Yes, absolutely. And I love my dad passed over 30 years ago, and I have foods that they're literally but and again, sometimes the awareness doesn't mean like then you never do the thing either,
Right.
right? But you're making a conscious choice, and even just the awareness of, "Oh, I must be missing my dad today because I'm thinking about that dish." And it's not a dish I normally have, and so and that also allows you to I don't have to eat it, I can choose to or not to.
The goal isn't necessarily to try to eat perfect all the
Yes.
time and reach that place of perfection, but the goal is to feel in choice of, so that when we're around food, I can say, is this a choice that would best serve me? Is this a choice that I want to make? And sometimes that might be an indulgence, or it might be an indulgence that I'm like, you know what? I want to indulge, but I might indulge in a way that feels more honoring, and for me, that might be like the gluten-free dessert or something that is
Right.
kinda honoring of the goals that I want, but to work with my body's chemistry so I don't go into that survival state, where I lose my sense of power with food. So it's not really about eating perfect. It's about being in connection with my body and feel when my body and my nervous system is starting to go into that stress response and feel what it is that I'm really deeply needing and see if I can work with my body's chemistry so that if I do want to indulge or I want to eat something, I'm doing it from a place of like connection with myself. And I
Yes.
really feel in choice. And
Yeah.
that's when we don't need willpower anymore. Willpower just becomes irrelevant because I'm
Right.
always in tune with my body saying, does this choice honor me? And I feel really good about it.
Yeah. I love that. And being in that place, judgment is out the window.
Yeah.
It's not because all the judgment does is make it all worse. It just keeps that spiral
Yeah.
going because when you're in judgment of yourself, then you're going to be in that stress place and it becomes this snowball. And so
Yeah.
but just saying like I'm not going to judge myself and no, it's the connection and like you said that understanding of the physiology I think is the key because we're designed this way. How can this be my fault?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great example. So, one of my past struggles used to be snacking while I was working kind of towards the end of the day around like
Mhm.
that 3 or 4 o'clock time when stress is built up. And so, before I knew all of this, I would get up from my desk, go grab a snack, circle back around, get up, snack, circle back around. And I would tell myself, no, don't do it. Don't do it. But it was like, my body was literally like a magnet to the kitchen. There was, like, no stopping me even though my brain was like, "No, don't do it." And I would keep repeating that pattern, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. Now, about a month ago, I was sitting here working, and unfortunately, my kitchen is not too far from my workspace, and I found myself getting up right around that same time, and I go over to the kitchen, and I open the cupboard, and my experience was so different because I've practiced this so many times that I was like, "Oh, wait a second." I paused and I was like, "Oh, let me use my curiosity here. What's happening? Am I hungry?" And so I paused for a moment and took a few breaths and I felt inside my body and I was like, is that hunger?" And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm hungry. No, I know I'm not hungry. Okay, what am I feeling?" And I'm like, well, I feel like my neck is a little tight, my jaw is a little tight. I'm feeling a little tension, a little bit of stress. I feel like I've been in the zone on the computer doing things for everybody else in the world.
Mm.
I actually just really want to feel good. I want to feel something that feels good inside of my body right now. And I was like, okay, so now from that place, what
Mhm.
do I want to do? What do I choose? And when I've repeated this process, there were some days that I was like, I'm actually going to have a piece of chocolate. But doing it from that place of, I know I wanna feel good, I was able to eat some chocolate and receive the pleasure from it that I was looking
Mhm.
for, where in the past, I would be like, "No, don't do it, this is bad," and I would check out and disassociate from the experience, and I never received the pleasure from it that I was looking for. And then there would be another day where I was like, "Okay, I'm actually just wanting to feel good. I could actually just go for a walk right now, that would feel really
Yeah.
good, I just
Put
need a
on a
break."
put on a song, dance,
Dance. Yeah, do something for me. I haven't done anything for me all day today. And we're such a culture that is based on productivity, getting the most done, taking care of everyone else. And I'm not a mom, but I have so much compassion for my moms out there who are just pouring their energy into kids all day long that sometimes we forget to say, have I done anything for me that makes me feel good?
Yeah.
And be on that search. So it was so interesting to see the contrast from in the past, it was such
Yeah.
a self-sabotaging moment of losing control. And now my experience is so different that I felt my nervous system shift. But I was like, oh, let me get curious. Let me slow down and pause, feel what my body is telling me that I'm really needing, and then make a decision from that place of conscious choice and awareness. And it did take me a long time to get here, but the
Of
difference
course.
between being at such war with myself and my food to just feeling so in partnership and from a place of connection of let me feel what I'm really needing.
Yeah.
And it felt like such a different experience.
Well, and what I love about that, is it highlights this is an ongoing process. Like these are
Yeah,
lifelong patterns, but the even better positive from you having that pattern and being able to identify that pattern is it actually signaled you to pause, check in, and really feel like, "Oh, you know what? That I've been ignoring Gina, or I've just been focused elsewhere. Gina needs a little love right now." Instead of just so it's actually a gift to me, like, from where I sit, that's so much better than you just pushing right through that last couple hours of work,
for
right?
sure.
And just keeping yourself on the back burner. So,
Yes.
we have to remember, like, when those signals pop up and those patterns are there, again, they can be for us in a completely different way. And
Yeah.
actually, like you said, I really think that the work you're doing will just helps people shift to actually nourishing
Mhm.
themselves, right?
Mhm.
Like, and that's the goal. That's the ideal is we want to be nourishing our bodies, but we need to be like connected to our bodies and integrated and understand and then make those choices that way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You said something so important that I don't want it to let to slip
yeah,
away that some people may not have caught. You said something so important about it, showing me about where I was needing to like feel good or putting myself on the back burner. So what if we looked at every self-sabotaging moment not as the bad thing that I have to
yeah,
control and something wrong with me, but actually is my mirror pointing me back home to myself.
yeah,
When am I feeling lonely and I need connection? When have I been putting myself on the back burner and I'm needing to feel good?
yeah.
And so this food can really be our food or our relationship with food or these self-sabotaging moments are not the enemy. They're not the bad thing. They're a mirror showing us for what our unmet needs are and where we need to feel more love, more pleasure, more joy. And if we look at it as that, we see the beauty in all of it, the perfection in all of it, that like we can trust ourselves more than what we think. It's just because we've been
Yes,
taught that these are bad, we're cutting off this really important message and information
yes.
from a really deep place. Call it maybe your heart or your soul or whatever you believe in, something really deep within you that's like, I need something. I need to feel good right now, or I need safety, or I need comfort.
Ah, amen. I love that.
Mhm.
And it is. It's so true. Again, it's part of that. Even if there's somebody who's delusional enough to think they don't have food relationship issues, I'm still listening and maybe needs to listen again, like so they can identify. Because we all do. It may not be, I love that it's not always about weight, right?
Mhm.
Like so or whatever the issue, it may be not eating like when you're hungry because of the
Mhm.
store, like whatever it is. But I just think it is so, so important for healing, for us to realize that we need to work on that mindfulness piece in order to actually nourish our bodies with food. We have
Mhm.
to feel the feelings. We have to get curious.
Yeah.
And so I just think I'm so grateful that you're doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
And really, I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my gosh, a
Oh.
dietitian who's like."
It's been a journey for me for sure. I've learned a lot. I definitely have very different perspectives from when I first started. I've been
Sure.
humbled
We
many
all
times.
evolve.
I've been
That's the
humbled
goal.
many times about my belief systems and the best way to
Mhm.
be healthy and fads and trends. And, I've been humbled many times and I'm sure that I will continue to be. But, you said something also that like we do all have this relationship with food. And I think we perceive this as if I look at my relationship with food, that's a weakness or it means that I have a problem. But what
Yeah.
I've realized is we all have a relationship with food and it's one of the most fascinating and empowering things that we could study because even if you're not losing control with your food, you can, if you lift take off the glasses of like and
Yes.
really look and
Lift the
see,
veil. Yeah.
lift the veil and see what is the relationship that I have. I can learn so much about myself and how food makes me feel and what drives my food choices sometimes that I don't really realize. And I really think that mindfulness is it's awareness. It's like paying attention. The opposite is like mindless. It's like when you check out and you don't pay
Right.
attention. And I think that we are a culture that focuses on willpower, and willpower is more like closer to mindless. It's
Yeah.
overpowering your experience. It's like, don't eat that, don't eat that. And you try to use your strengths to overpower what you're craving, what you're feeling, what you're desiring. And mindfulness is about turning up your attention inward and saying, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? Am I hungry? Am I craving something? And you're developing like an intimacy with your
Yeah.
body, with your sensations, with your emotions, what you're needing. And this is where like deep, deep self trust is built with your body. So when people say, gosh, I just need more willpower, or what is wrong with me? We can start to see that willpower is the weakest form of change because we're overpowering what our body is like. Hey, I need your attention. This is what I'm actually asking for. So, mindfulness and connection, I think, is the most powerful thing for all of us to practice as we are on our health journey and making changes.
Well, and it leads to, I mean, back to the curiosity piece, whether it's, you know, this specifically or, chronic illness in general. If we're not asking why, we
Hmm.
we really aren't going to create like lasting change. And
Hmm.
so you can have the most willpower in the world, but if you're white knuckling it, that's not, then you're set up to be in that cycle. At some point, you're gonna fall off the horse. It's
Yeah.
just gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so I love the taking the curiosity. And again, it's like you can't be in joy and stress at the same time. You can't be in shame and blame and curiosity at the same time.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
that is the key, like, you have really tapped into the magic.
And the magic is so simple too that if we can bring together this childlike curiosity of and say
Yes.
instead of saying, "Why do I always do that?" Instead it's like, "Oh, I wonder what I'm
Why?
feeling. I wonder what I'm experiencing," and like bringing in this childlike wonder. And also what really helped me take the first step forward, one of my mentors had said this to me when I was really struggling. He said, "I want you to check in with yourself like you're a child."
Mm,
And I started making that my practice throughout the day.
mhm,
Hey, how are we doing? Do we need anything? Do we need some water? Do we need
mm.
food? Is there stress building up? And I started to build that relationship with myself, almost as if just like I was a child and it made things so easy. And I got into the practice of checking in with my body and what my body was really needing all throughout the day.
I love that because I think it's such a like, a gentle way to start to
Yes.
shift that awareness,
Uh huh.
and then you don't get stuck in the, like, "Oh, I can't feel what's going on in my body," like, that's
Yeah.
like, one is just a nice, like, segue into getting reintegrated with what's going on in your body.
I'll also share the actual three-step process that I
Yes.
do for myself, that I do with my students that kind of brings everything full circle. You'll probably see it like in the examples I shared with myself or with
Mm,
other people. But so the first step is to develop awareness. So I just make it a practice of pausing and checking in with all the things of myself. What are my thoughts? Am I saying things like, "Ooh, you deserve a treat right now." And not that that's bad, but I'm just kinda checking in. I'm like,
right.
"What are my
Where am
thoughts
I?
telling me? What's going on?" I'm using my awareness to feel what emotions am I feeling? What's really and what are the sensations in my body? Is that hunger? Is that a craving? Am I full? I'm using my awareness to check in on what's happening with my body. And then the second step after awareness is regulation. This is the part that most people miss because people will say, "Well, I tried listening to my body and my hunger, my fullness, and I couldn't," or "I tried intuitive eating and I just can't do that." And that's because they're missing this piece. When your nervous system is in that sympathetic state, your attention is up here and you feel numb to your body. So you can't tell if you're hungry or full or if you're having a craving or what's going on. You can't pick up those signals on a physiological level. Your brain activity is not working to be able to pick up those signals. So this step is so important, which is regulation. There's so many different ways to bring your body into a more regulated state. But what I think is the easiest and the most simple is like bringing your hand to your heart so you can feel that connection with your body and just taking a few slow breaths in and out through your nose. And if you try that right now, you'll feel how your body, just within a few breaths, will start to soften. Your attention will start to move more here. Your breath wakes up the sensations of your body. Now it's like, oh, not only does it feel better, but you're shifting your brain activity back to that prefrontal cortex. It's helping you think a little more clearly, feel the sensations in your body. And so first is awareness of like, what am I thinking, feeling, experiencing? Then we practice regulation, regulating my nervous system. And then the integration part is now that I'm feeling and sensing everything in my body, I can ask myself, what do I need right now? Or what am I experiencing? And we can start to understand, what am I feeling? What am I really needing? And make food choices from that place of connection.
Ah, that is gold right there. Everybody can benefit from doing that practice. And I love how thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I had seen it on the website
Oh,
but I still want people, there's so much on the website. So,
oh.
um, for people that are listening on the go, I usually ask a different question first, but for people that aren't gonna check out the show notes, where is the best place to find you, to find the institute?
Yeah. So if you want to keep learning, I do have a free training on masteringmindfulness.institute. And it's called Reclaiming Your Power with Food. And it breaks down that 3-step methodology and gives you a lot of examples and ways of practice and kind of looking at what does that progression look like as you keep practicing? What might you be thinking and feeling and experiencing? So you can check that out. It's totally free on masteringmindfulness.institute. I also love to share things on Instagram, Gina.Worful, on YouTube. I do different videos and yeah, so there's plenty of ways to
There's a lot
keep
of
learning.
content out there.
Yeah,
Sure.
tons to
And
learn from.
and again, we all need to keep learning, like, we're never done. And
Mhm.
so, there's always more that we can do, and not in an overwhelming way, just as we're
Mhm.
ready to go deeper.
Yes.
Listeners know I always ask, and I know you just really gave us, I know but this is the first time in 200 and something episodes where I wanna tell them the one step, but what I'm here to do. What is one step that listeners can take starting today to improve their health? In just in general.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say instead of thinking about your health journey as doing more, practicing to slow down a little bit more and move from a place of judgment, if you have been in that place of judgment, to curiosity. And that could just be as simple as throughout the day, bringing your hand to heart, checking in, and thinking of this connection and relationship with your body as like a language. And at first, you might not be good at that language, and it might be like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what my body is needing. But the more you practice, the more you start to feel the different sensations of hunger, fullness, emotions, cravings. You start to feel them and become more intimate with them. So just be so patient. Try not to let your mind go into that place of this won't work for me.
Yeah,
S
judgment. Yep.
Right? Don't go back into judgment. Just start treating yourself like that little kid, and remember that your body is so perfectly designed that when we crave things or we self-sabotage, it's self-protection, and just stay curious with what you're really needing, and you can really trust yourself more than what you know and realize.
I love that. And I was gonna say the one step is to do the practice 3-step
Practice, yeah,
process.
practice, practice.
Practice.
Yes, practice, journal about it. Like what it was really helpful for me was pen to paper to actually write down, what did I learn about my patterns? What was I needing? And then it becomes enlightening and like, wow, I'm learning so much about this isn't about controlling food. This is about learning about myself,
Uh,
right?
yes, amazing. Gina, thank you so much, not only for the work that you're doing, but for sharing so much with us today, and truly inspiring us all to take that next step.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Julie.
For everyone listening, remember you can get the transcripts and show notes by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.